Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has downplayed the chances of a truce in Gaza after Hamas gave what it called a comprehensive vision to mediators. Mr. Netanyahu's office said Hamas was still holding to unrealistic demands. Hamas wants a permanent end to the war and full Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. Meanwhile, Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry said 20 people had been killed as they waited for aid. Israel denies involvement and accuses armed Palestinians of firing at the crowds. The incident took place at the Kuwaiti roundabout on the southern outskirts of Gaza City, a known drop-off point for the little aid that reaches northern Gaza, where the UN says children are dying of malnutrition and famine is looming. The father of a Michigan school gunman who killed 4 students has been convicted of manslaughter.
Guilty of involuntary manslaughter.
James Crumbly was in court for the verdict and appeared to show little reaction other than shaking his head as it was read out. The trial heard that James Crumbly had ignored his 15-year-old son's mental health needs, buying him the handgun he used in the 2021 attack. The jury deliberated for just over a day before coming to the verdict. Jennifer Crumbly, his wife, is due to be sentenced next month. Senegal's opposition leader Ousmane Sonko and the presidential candidate he is backing in this month's delayed election, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, have been released from prison. The two met hundreds of their jubilant supporters in the capital Dakar after their release late on Thursday. Their release followed an amnesty announced by President Macky Sall. The elections are due to be held on the 24th of March after a failed bid to push them to December. Mr. Faye is one of the 19 candidates contesting the elections and is expected to start campaigning today. He is standing through the Diomaye President Coalition Party. Major internet disruption has been reported in various countries across Africa. Widespread outages have been reported in countries including South Africa, Nigeria, Ivory Coast, Liberia, Benin, Ghana and Burkina Faso. Since then, services have largely been restored in Liberia and South Africa. The cause of the cable failures was not immediately clear, to the frustration of millions of customers around the continent. Ex-James Bond star Pierce Brosnan has pleaded guilty to hiking too close to sensitive geothermal pools in a closed part of Yellowstone National Park. It comes 2 months after he initially pleaded not guilty to trespassing in hot springs, where acid rising from the ground can reach boiling temperatures. A judge in Wyoming accepted his plea and ordered him to pay a fine of over $1,500 for the offense. The payment will go to a non-profit tasked with preserving the park. Elon Musk's SpaceX company has conducted a 3rd test flight of the most powerful rocket ever built. The Starship vehicle lifted off successfully from its base in southeast Texas at around 8:25 a.m. local time and went faster and further than before, the SpaceX team said in its live stream. It is hoped that the 120-meter-tall Starship will usher in a revolution in space transportation, radically lowering the cost of putting people and objects into orbit. The test flight followed missions in April and November of last year, neither of which made it many minutes beyond the point of liftoff. And as the world faces yet another mass coral bleaching this year, some scientists may have found a way to help degrading reefs. It's a technique that involves playing music to the ears of coral larvae. Here in the US Virgin Islands, broadcasting sounds of a healthy reef encourages coral larvae to settle in the area. In a study, coral larvae were attracted to corals with the sounds 7 times more than areas without it. Scientists say the contribution coral reefs make to the natural environment cannot be overstated.
They provide habitat for close to 1/4 of all marine species, and they support billions of dollars in tourism industries, fisheries, and they provide coastline protection.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.